So things are continuing to progress on the Nintendo Switch 2 front. We went over a story recently about big AAA third-party games coming over to the Nintendo Switch 2. So stuff like Diablo 4, a new Call of Duty game, Fallout, Starfield, Elden Ring, and a lot of other games, stuff like Tekken, potentially even Red Dead Redemption 2, and so much more that was recently leaked or rumored, and that's been a huge story. Obviously, people want to have great Nintendo Switch third-party titles. Nintendo Switch 2, with the bump up in specs and quality, you're going to be able to get a lot more of these other games. So we did cover that in videos, so if you haven't seen that, make sure you check it out. This is an extension or update to that video that I want to go over, because we do have an update on another game that is taking over the world right now, the multiplayer world that could be coming to the Nintendo Switch 2, which is interesting because the developers instantly said, yeah, well, we're not bringing the game to Nintendo Switch 1. We're not doing that. But maybe they had the card up their sleeve overall in terms of what they actually want to do. So this is from Mr. Xtas. Ones, I think he talked about this. He added on top of the different reports that we got from people like Nate the Hate and all of that. But according to this here, the same source is rumoring that Marvel Rivals will be coming over to the Nintendo Switch 2, and the plan is to get the game out as soon as possible. Now, this was on Go Nintendo and also via VGC with the original article, but yeah, he did talk about it too as well when it comes to Marvel Rivals, that same source overall. And very interesting that would be the case if they were able to bring over Marvel Rivals, just because that's a game that's doing incredibly well right now on PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. PC and PlayStation, it's dominating when it comes to the multiplayer game charts. They're making a ton of revenue, and it seems like there's a lot of goodwill with the fans when it comes to updates, in addition to offering good prices for skins and everything. So it seems like it's a goodwill type of free-to-play live service game. Now, I will say this just so everyone's clear, I don't love live service games. I'm kind of just over it. I downloaded Marvel Rivals on my PlayStation 5. I played one game with Storm. I was thrown around like air darts and I didn't die. I just flew around, and I think it's an okay game. It's cool for people who want to jump into multiplayer and move a cart back and forth in a match and play and fight, and it's cool. Like, for those who want that, I just would like a single player campaign to go along with that. Like, I would like to actually have some type of real game, not just the same multiplayer combat over and over and over and over without having anything else to do with the game. I mean, physical copies, all that, but you know, it is what it is, whatever. That's not the point. The point is that they have a great game that people are playing. And if it was able to come over to Nintendo Switch 2 early, that would provide people with a fantastic multiplayer game to play, free to play, on their Switch 2 to kind of say, okay, I can have this system and not have to necessarily play everything on other systems. It can take the time away. And that's one thing that Nintendo's always talked about, is that you're competing for time. You're competing for people's time. And having something like Marvel Rivals, which is definitely a time eater overall, would be good to balance out with the other games that are rumored to be coming to the Nintendo Switch 2, because there seems to be a lot. Now, the strategy here is going to be interesting, how Nintendo plays this out. If you look at the last few generations when Nintendo has done things, with the Nintendo 3DS compared to the Wii U, compared to the Switch, and not at this point, it's been a bit spotty. With the Nintendo 3DS, they definitely had big third-party developers making some games here or there coming off the massive success of the Nintendo DS, but the way that they did it and the type of games and the quality necessarily weren't up to anything exciting overall. It's exciting for those who want to play it on there, but just not super exciting overall. So third-party didn't make a huge splash on the Nintendo 3DS at launch, despite having Tekken and Street Fighter and Dead or Alive and all these other games that were coming over. However, if you look at the Wii U, that was where they got a bunch of big third-party games to be right there at launch, and that was a flop. Obviously, the marketing was completely off in what they did there. And if you look at the first-party titles with New Super Mario Bros. U and with Nintendo Land, that was not able to get the casual gamer over to the platform. So they had a ton of big third-party games that ultimately ended up doing almost nothing on the system. with the Nintendo Switch, they took a little bit of a, I would say, hands-off approach when it came to the big third-party games. Let's let Nintendo come in first with the huge Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and people were saying this launch lineup is terrible, and it ended up actually being a great launch lineup because it had Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and that was the only game that people needed on the system. And then here comes Mario Kart, here comes ARMS, Splatoon, Mario plus Rabbids, Mario Odyssey, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and then on top of that, all the third-party developers start coming in as well with like Skyrim and Doom and Resident Evil and even more. So I do feel that Nintendo is going to go somewhere in between there. If you're looking at launch lineup or stuff that they're going to do, they're going to have some big third-party games ready to go there at launch. They're going to sprinkle them in throughout the coming months, and they're going to have a big Nintendo Switch first-party game, probably Mario Kart. That is the best-selling Nintendo Switch game. It's also the best-selling Wii U game, too, as well. For the last 2 generations, it's been the best-selling when it comes down to it. 3DS, it's not. But yeah, I do think that Mario Kart is going to be that game that's going to push a lot of systems, but they are going to have other third-party games. I think that there is enough evidence here at this point to say, okay, yeah, Nintendo Switch 2 is going to have some pretty good third-party support and third-party games that they didn't have on the Nintendo Switch 1, and I think it's going to be a lot better for this year heading into next year. And I think that people are actually going to buy those games better than what we saw with, I would say, the Nintendo Switch 1 and some of the third-party games that came out, and obviously way better than what the 3DS and what the Wii U were offering third-party wise. I think the sales are going to be considerably better because of the quality of it and the nature of the Nintendo Switch, the fact that it's going to be a dedicated high quality portable device, hybrid device that you can play at home and on the go, instead of it being necessarily something else that's a portable PC where there's definitely other issues and things. So I think it's definitely going to be pretty good on that front. So what do you guys think overall when it comes to this and some of the updates that we've got for the Nintendo Switch 2 when it comes to third-party games, Marvel Rivals being that? Let me know in the comment section. But I do want to get into something else that I found very interesting on the internet. It's kind of like, see, I told you so overall, because there was an article that came out the other day that Nintendo's reveal of the Nintendo Switch 2 was so bad that it sunk the stock and nobody wanted it. It was terrible and everyone was saying how bad it was, and that was incredibly, I would say, exaggerated overall when it comes down to it. Yes, the stock did sink. I'm not big on watching the stocks and trying to report on this and that, but I was trying to tell people, I got called names and all that, but I was trying to tell people that, yeah, it sunk a little bit because the release date was further out than maybe what some investor would want, and there wasn't necessarily like, oh my gosh, there's some type of crazy gimmick that's all over the place or whatever it is. Nintendo didn't reveal all that, and it's coming in April. So that's the reason why. But once reality sets in and they start seeing exactly what people are saying, because people want a new system, people want Nintendo to make a sequel to this thing, people want a better Switch. They've been playing Switch for 8 years now, and Switch is still selling overall. It was still number 2 in the MPD. It's still number 1 in Japan. It's still selling. The games are still selling, and the fans are eagerly anticipating something new to play. So once the numbers start rolling in, don't worry, things are going to change, and that's exactly what happened, because the stock rebounded. And not only did it rebound, I hope you guys bought on the dip, because it hit a 52-week high and record status overall following the Nintendo Switch 2 reveal. So overall, some investors were a little bit upset. You know, maybe there could be a problem with the transition from the Wii to the Wii U. We know how that went, and they were pretty much basically holding on to that. That's the reason why there was some stuff there. But now the update is this. Nintendo stock is hitting an all-time high in Japan following the Switch 2 reveal. As of today, the stock reached a 9,775 yen, which is the highest point ever achieved in the company's history. Now, that was a day or so ago, about yesterday or so it could have changed from then. But what I was trying to say is that once the numbers start coming in overall, in terms of how well people are actually paying attention to the marketing for this device, I don't really think it's going to be a problem. And that's exactly what happened, because my man Paul Gale actually talked about this recently as well, and he stated on Twitter the Nintendo Switch 2 was revealed 1 week ago, and the reveal trailer now has this many views: 54 million on the Japanese Twitter account, 42 million on the American Twitter account, 19.4 million on the American YouTube channel in terms of views, 7.2 million on the Japanese YouTube channel, plus millions more on other various different forums, whether you're watching on other places, people making it, whatever the case is. So there are a ton of positive buzz. And to give you guys just a little bit of a snippet of how much bigger that is than lots of other places, for example, the Xbox Series X announcement trailer, that was like 17 million or something like that. So it's already passed up the total amount. I knew that people are going to be hyped to be able to play this because people are still buying Nintendo Switch 1 stuff. Now, if we got the same amount of concern in terms of things like people saying what they were saying, and like, let's say the likes weren't as much up, like there was over 1 million likes on the YouTube page, but let's just say the likes were way down and people were just saying all sorts of negative things, then I'd be like, all right, okay, there might be an issue beforehand. But that's not really the case. People are just excited to see more. April 2nd can't come soon enough. That is going to be a huge Nintendo Switch 2 Direct, and I'm looking forward to seeing exactly what we're going to be getting, because I think it's going to be pretty cool, and I think that the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to sell very well starting out of the gate. But what are you guys' thoughts on this when it comes down to Nintendo stock hitting an all-time high after people tried to claim that the reveal sunk everything? Let me know, because a lot of people aren't actually following up on the report of that. So let me know in the comment section. But we are going to move on to some Xenoblade Chronicles X news. And if you want to get the best pre-order for Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition on the Nintendo Switch, I highly recommend checking out Best Buy, because Best Buy has a pretty cool pre-order bonus. Shout outs to Wario64, and he states that Xenoblade Chronicles X free mini metal poster and stand with physical pre-order at Best Buy. Customers who have already pre-ordered will receive the poster and stand limited quantity. So apparently this deal wasn't up when the pre-orders first went live, but then later they said, oh wait, hold up, we got something for you guys. It's this thing right here. I actually just pre-ordered it myself this morning. I wanted to make sure that I can get this no problem and it would be able to come to the location that I'm at in terms of Best Buy. But yeah, this is probably the best place to pre-order it if you have it. If you've got like PayPal and something else, you can even do like the pay in 4 or whatever the case is. There's so many options overall, and I would think that this would probably be the best one because this poster looks pretty cool in the stand. Like, they've done some pretty cool stuff with Nintendo over the last number of games. I know Echoes of Wisdom had a pretty cool like acrylic stand and stuff like that. So they've been doing some good stuff overall, and I like the fact that they're offering these little things, these little incentives to actually pick up the game physical, because obviously, you know, physical is not as popular as it once was, but it's still popular. Like, people on Nintendo Switch still buy plenty of physical games. So I'm happy that Nintendo, they're working with the retailers in order to keep physical alive. A lot of times when you see certain games, when they come back, people are doing remasters, remakes, or whatever, they don't even do a physical game, which is really weird. Look at Ninja Gaiden, for example. It's only in Play Asia, pre-order for the PlayStation 5 only, and it's only through there. Whereas here with the remaster with Xenoblade Chronicles X, we've got an official remaster. It's physical, we're getting little items with it and all of that. So I'm so happy at least somebody wants to keep physical gaming alive overall from the big three. But now we're gonna move on to the final topic here, and a little bit of a surprise for some people when it comes to Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, because it had a pretty good debut overall in Japan. Actually, one of the best for a re-release of a Donkey Kong game, because Game Data Library over on Twitter stated that the retail launch sales of Donkey Kong Country Returns HD in Japan are the highest for any DKC re-release, surpassing its 3DS port and even the Switch version of Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. Now with digital, it's probably not too far off of the original Wii version of the game. The sales were at 107,093 units. And yeah, I do think that it's definitely in the top 5, if not number 1 in Japan when it comes to the digital sales overall, the eShop sales. So very interesting, especially because Tropical Freeze, that was released a number of years ago. Obviously the install base is a lot bigger now at this point, so it's not too surprising that the sales are above Tropical Freeze. I mean, Tropical Freeze still did pretty good, all things considered, if you look at the fact that it sold 96,754 units overall. Obviously, Donkey Kong Country Returns did about 10,000 plus more than that. But yeah, I mean, Donkey Kong's never been like, oh my gosh, the biggest franchise in Japan, but it's still been pretty good. And it shows that people just want to play Donkey Kong. They just want to play Switch games. They want to be able to have it portable. And I do feel that despite, yeah, the price being a little like on there, the fact that they're bringing over some of these games that are locked away on the Wii or locked away on the 3DS, I don't care, man. Bring those games over. I'll get them eventually when they drop down in price sometimes, or when there's sales or discounts. So bring over all of those games. Let's not have them die on like these older Nintendo systems. So bring them over just so we can have that on a newer modern system, and of course backwards compatibility with the Nintendo Switch 2. But what do you guys think about everything overall, about all the different topics that we discussed? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch RPG videos and more right here on screen. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.